Kai was 7 years old when he first stumbled into the valley. He'd been chasing a grasshopper with improbable golden wings, his small feet carrying him far from his village and over the jagged spine of the forbidden mountains. When he tripped and tumbled down a mossy slope, he expected to find himself scraped and lost. Instead, he found himself in a world that time had forgotten. The air was thick and humid, filled with the scent of giant blossoms and wet earth. Towering ferns brushed his shoulders, and the trees looked like living pillars holding up the sky. And there, watching him from a thicket of cycads, was a dinosaur. It was no taller than a sheepdog, but built like a miniature tank with pebbled, emerald-green skin. A fan of vibrant yellow spines ran down its back, and its head was a curious boxy shape with large, intelligent eyes the color of dark amber. It didn't roar or charge. It tilted its head and let out a soft, questioning chirp that sounded like a question. Terror should have frozen Kai, but the creature's gaze held no malice, only a deep, ancient curiosity. Slowly, Kai reached into his pocket and pulled out the half-eaten rice cake he'd saved from lunch. He held it out, his hand trembling. The dinosaur crept forward, sniffed the offering with a soft, snuffling sound, and then delicately took it from his fingers. A friendship was sealed with a crumb. He named her Pella, after the sound of the river stones tumbling over one another. Every day after his chores, Kai would sneak over the mountains to the hidden valley. He brought her fruits from his village, mangoes, which she adored, and lychees, which she'd play with like bouncy balls before puncturing the shell with a careful claw. Pella, in turn, showed him her world. She showed him where the phosphorescent mushrooms glowed at dusk, creating a fairy-light path through the undergrowth. She taught him which berries were sweet and which would make his tongue feel fuzzy for hours. He learned to read the language of the valley. The alarm call of a pterosaur meant a larger predator was near, and the way Pella's spines would lie flat against her back meant she was content. Their games were the games of any best friends. They played hide and seek among the giant tree roots. Kai would try to climb trees to get away, but Pella, despite her stout legs, was a surprisingly adept climber and would always find him, nudging him with her snout until he laughed and surrendered. They would race along the riverbank, Kai's swift legs no match for Pella's surprising bursts of speed, but she always stopped to let him catch up. As the years turned, the boy and the dinosaur grew together. Kai shot up, his voice deepened, and the concerns of his village of becoming a fisherman like his father began to weigh on him. But the valley was his constant. Pella grew too, now the size of a small pony, her chirps deepening into low, rumbling croons that Kai felt in his chest. She was his confidant. He told her about his dreams of seeing the ocean, his frustration with his lessons, his first crush on a girl from the next village. She would listen, blinking her great amber eyes, and nuzzle his hand as if to say, "I understand." The world outside the valley, however, was not so understanding. Rumors began to trickle into the village. A strange, monstrous creature had been seen near the mountains. A farmer's chicken coop had been raided. The elders spoke of a beast from old legends, a bringer of bad fortune. Kai's heart turned to ice. He tried to dismiss the tales, but the fear in his village was a palpable thing. He warned Pella, feeding her extra mangoes and urging her to stay deep in the valley, away from the mountain passes. But hunger is a powerful driver. A harsh winter came, and food in the valley grew scarce. One evening, driven by the gnawing in her belly, Pella ventured further than she ever had before. She followed the scent of roasting yams and smoked fish, a scent she associated with her best friend, right to the edge of Kai's village. The scream that tore through the twilight air was one of pure terror. It was followed by the clanging of pots and the shouts of men. Kai, mending a net outside his home, felt a cold dread wash over him. He knew. He sprinted towards the commotion to find a ring of terrified villagers holding torches and farming tools, surrounding a very confused and frightened Pella. Her spines were flared in alarm, and she was emitting a low, worried rumble, turning in circles, looking for an escaper for him, the beast. Someone yelled, "It's here to curse our harvest. Drive it back to the mountains." Kai's father stepped forward, a heavy fishing spear in his hand. "Stand back, son," he commanded, his voice grim. In that moment, Kai was no longer a boy caught between two worlds. He was Pella's friend, her protector. He threw himself between the spear and the dinosaur. "No," he shouted, his voice ringing with a strength he didn't know he possessed. He turned to face the crowd, his arms spread wide, shielding her. "Her name is Pella. She is not a monster. She is my friend." The villagers stared, stunned into silence. They saw not a beast, but the boy they had watched grow up, standing defiantly before a creature of legend, with tears streaming down his face. "She would never hurt anyone," Kai pleaded, his voice breaking. "She loves mangoes. She plays hide and seek. She's the best friend I've ever had." He turned and placed a hand on Pella's snout. She immediately calmed, her spines lowering, and she let out a soft, trusting chirp, the same sound she'd made the day they met. She nuzzled his hand, and the absolute trust between them was a truth more powerful than any fear. The spear in his father's hand slowly lowered. The angry shouts died away, replaced by murmurs of awe and confusion. They saw the truth Kai had always known, that wonder is not something to be feared, but to be protected. Pella never went hungry again. A silent understanding was reached between the village and the valley. On the first day of every month, a basket of mangoes and yams would appear at the mouth of the mountain pass. And sometimes, on clear nights, those who were quiet and lucky might see not a monster, but the outline of a young man walking alongside a dinosaur, their two shadows merging into one under the ancient, watchful stars. Best friends, forever. The end. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe.